Hello and welcome back to Jacob's Toys. Please do like, share, subscribe and all of those things. All support to the channel is very much appreciated. In this in this video we are looking at issue 31 of the Transformers fan home Build an Optimus Prime figure. And as I say in all of these videos, the magazine is a great accompanying part of the subscription, part of the collection. There really is so much attention to detail. What they do is they cover a load of stuff from the movies, a load of stuff from the comic books, obviously a load of stuff from the toy line, and just give you a real kind of look into the history of Transformers, which is quite a significant history now. It's about 40, was it 40 this year, wasn't it? It was the 40th anniversary. And what I really like is looking back and seeing all these old toys and having kind of a visual catalogue of all the different kind of versions of the figures and the characters that we've had over the years, and it's just really cool to have it all in one place. And of course each issue does a assembly guide at the end as well, gives you a visual and written assembly guide for the particular parts in that issue. Now we have been building the torso, like the pelvis and torso area of Optimus Prime in this kind of bundle of issues, and I'm going to finish it off with issue 31. Now, it did take me a little bit longer than some of the other issues, so I'm going to speed it up just for the sake of saving time, and I'll talk to you while I'm speeding it up. So there we go, without further ado, let's speed it up. So this of course has been quite an interesting build, and a lot of the stuff in these last few issues are going to be parts that are hidden underneath other parts. And when I say hidden, I don't mean completely, but there are layers to go on top of it. So of course things like the chest cavity and, you know, to flesh out the kind of pelvis area and the hips and stuff. So this is all kind of inner detail, as I'd like to call it. And I think it's one of the great things about these fan home subscription services is that the attention to detail, the sculpting that goes into it is second to none. One of the most common questions I get asked is, does it transform? And the simple answer is no, it doesn't transform, because we have got all of these layers of detail, and of course you're putting it together as well. So to have something of this size and this detail transform, it would be 3 times the amount of issues, because you'd have to have all those working parts inside, whereas at least this is kind of just casing and kind of fleshing out and all that kind of stuff. So no, it doesn't transform, but I for one am not too bothered, because it's going to stand about 60 centimeters in height. It's got light up eyes, it's kind of fully articulated, and it is going to look absolutely incredible on the shelf. Now, some parts of this are die cast and other parts of it are plastic, and it's a good mix so far between all of the issues that I've got. There is some serious weight to this figure. I'm not going to trust it on a flimsy shelf. It is going to have to be kind of on a bottom shelf, or at least on somewhere that's got some good support, because it is a heavy figure. Now, the creative decision was obviously made to do Optimus Prime from the movies as opposed to Optimus Prime from the comic books or from the original toy line. And again, I'm not overly disappointed, because the Optimus Prime from the movies was a lot more detailed. There was obviously a lot more realism to him, and I'm really enjoying that. Seeing that kind of come out in the model is actually quite cool. Now this is the bottom half of the pelvis, and as you can see from these two things here, I'm assuming they are going to be the articulation for the legs. So we're going to have a little bit of articulation on the legs so we can move them kind of forward and backwards, and just make sure those parts are all done up properly and they're tight, because you're not going to be able to get back into those a few weeks down the line when you obviously start fleshing this out. Now you do get a screwdriver as part of the kind of first issue, but I've kind of switched that out quite a few weeks back for my own, just because I wanted to have a more precise kind of head on my screwdriver, because although they do give you 1 or 2 extra screws every time they give you a packet of screws, every kind of 5 screws you need, they'll give you 6. I didn't want to risk losing one or crossing the threads or anything like that, so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to use my own screwdriver and put it together. But in essence, there isn't any extra parts that you would need. There's no extra tools that you would need. They give you everything that you need to put it together. So you could sit there and put it all together with the screwdriver that they've provided easy enough. As you can see, the last couple of weeks worth of building is all starting to pay off now, and it's all starting to come together. One thing that I have found to be quite good and quite consistent is a block of issues does tend to kind of build up a single part. So up until now, we've kind of built the left leg up, and then the last dozen or so issues we've been building this pelvis area. I'm kind of hoping that this attaches to the leg before we have to start building the other leg, and then we build the other leg from the foot up. That would be quite helpful, because then I could actually kind of start seeing the height of it. Now I do know that it's 60 centimeters tall, but even then that's quite hard to gauge in how much space it's going to take up and what's going to be a suitable kind of display space for it. Now if you want to add an extra £1 to each issue of your subscription, you can actually get a display base, like a themed branded display case as well, and they'll start giving you that. I think it's from issue 7, I think they start giving that out. I don't have that display case, so I don't need it. I've got my display cases, and I was just quite happy to have a look at the model, but you can get that as well. And I should mention there are subscriber gifts as well as you work your way through. So there are key rings, there are mugs, there are t-shirts, there are backpacks, there are all sorts of stuff. The one that I'm looking forward to the most is the bust. There's like an Optimus Prime bust as well at some point. So yeah, if you're collecting, you do get a handful of kind of bonus gifts as well, which is a nice little touch. Now people have commented on how long it takes to build this, because obviously each week you get a different part and it is a slow build, but I think with this kind of subscription service you've got to really be a fan of the thing that you're building, because otherwise it would just drag on. And I think if you're not a fan of something like this, then you're not going to obviously buy into it. So Fanhome are very good with the different franchises they do. I know that they're doing an Ecto 1, they've done a DeLorean in the past, they're doing E.T., they've done a Robocop, an Iron Man, an Infinity Gauntlet. They've done so many different builds. There's literally something for everyone. But this particular Transformers one really kind of sparked my interest, just because it's just something very cool about having a big robot in disguise, basically. It's I just thought it lent itself to the kind of building aspect quite well. I'm a big fan of 1/6 scale figures, and I like the kind of fluidity that they have and the kind of the realism that they have. And I thought, building something on this scale, aside from a vehicle, it would have to be a transformer, just because of the amount of detail that will go into it.